Hi, I'm Paul Ferrandi, and welcome to 6 Minute Saturdays. You can tell it's a little bit different setup. I'm in a conference room here in Benton Harbor, Michigan. So you're wondering, what are you doing in Benton Harbor? What's in Benton Harbor? So just to start off, it's a little bit about me and my family. So I think I mentioned I'm a chemical engineer. My brother is actually an electrical engineer. I have another brother who's going to grad school for electrical, or did, he was, did study software computer engineering. Now I go to grad school for music technology. My sister studied chemical engineering as well. So she just moved in working for Whirlpool Corporation as a chemical engineer in an R&D center. So she's going to be doing a lot of stuff with there on the cooking side of things. So I'm excited for her. So here in her apartment, saw this meeting room, and it's a Saturday, and thought it was a good opportunity to record for 6 Minute Saturday. So I thought, why not do it? And I think that's one thing I wanted to talk about this time around. It's just the diversity that is within engineering, even within specific parts of engineering. So I mentioned that I study chemical engineering. I've worked a lot on the food side of things. So when I first got out of school, I worked for ConAgra Foods for a short period of time, a couple months, and then from there transitioned to General Mills. And so, to take a long story short, I graduated in December and had an offer from ConAgra. I knew I wanted to work for a global company, which ConAgra has stuff all over, but I was looking for something that a little bit bigger as far as international opportunities. And so General Mills opportunity came up after I graduated, actually after I had moved already, had to transition, all that stuff. And it was interesting, and it was pretty stressful in the moment, but able to get through it by God's grace. Like I mentioned, I'm a person of faith, so I prayed about it, asked God, talked to friends, and was able to work through that situation well. So I worked on the food side of things. I worked for General Mills. From there, I transitioned to Nestle Purina, which is still food, but more so on the pet food, pet care, so making stuff for dogs and cats. On the flip side, now I've been working for a chemical company. So as far as I work for Henkel Corporation, do a lot of stuff, make it with detergents and air fresheners. So we're new to the air freshener, Purex and Persil. So that's the stuff I do now as a continuous improvement manager. But I've had a lot of different people on the podcast. If you haven't listened to the podcast episodes, I've had recent episodes of people working in cybersecurity, people working in site reliability engineering. Engineering is really broad. I think if you're not an engineer, you don't realize how broad it is, even within specific engineers. So like I mentioned, I'm in chemical engineering. I've done less stuff on the food side. I'm now doing stuff more on the chemical side of things. But even with that, you can go into oil and gas as well. You can do more stuff with the chemical side of things. You can go into water treatment. You can go into pretty much anything you want. What you need to understand, especially as a student actually either going into school or maybe even transition to a different career, is at the end of the day, what makes the difference is the experiences you get. So I have been fortunate enough to work as a packaging engineer, as well as a process engineer, because of the experiences I had early on with General Mills. I did a lot of stuff in the packaging side of things. I understood what it takes to package stuff as far as the material and stuff you need to be mindful of as far as how you store it and making sure that it's the right material quality, all of that stuff. So I've become best friends with quality. But really what you need to focus on is just finding out what you want to do. If you are passionate about food, you want to learn more about food, you can definitely reach out to me. If you want to just learn more about manufacturing in general, like I mentioned, now I'm in another manufacturing space. Intuitively, I knew it, but now in practicality from doing it, manufacturing is pretty similar regardless of where you go. It's pretty fast paced. There's stuff that come up all the time. Continuous improvement is actually something I didn't know anything about when I was going to school. I think industrial engineers do a lot. I think they do go to school more for that because I have friends who are industrial engineers. Actually, a recent friend that was on the podcast. So Trisha Peterson, she's on the podcast talking about her story. She's also a CI manager working for Millipore Sigma. And so she talked about that. But I think it's really key, especially when you're trying to figure out what your career or transitioning is, work on getting the right experiences. So talk to your manager if there's certain things that are within your role that it might be a little bit extra to do certain things to get that stretch goal or get certain certifications. But at the end of the day, yes, your degree matters for your first role. And yes, you can get other degrees to transition into the role. But the person that's hiring for the job, whether it's an internal job or external job, they really want to know that you have the ability to do the job. And the best way is to talk about the experiences that you've had. Yes, knowing the theory, knowing the lingo, knowing the jargon, understanding how all the stuff works is important. But at the end of the day, you also have to be able to do it as well, because there's going to be some onboarding, but we want to make the onboarding as short as possible. So oftentimes onboarding is not great at a lot of places, and I think that's probably an episode for another 6 Minute Saturday. But my time is up. I want to talk about my career journey, kind of the stuff I've done in engineering, and let me know if there's other things you want to learn more about. We'll talk about it. And so we'll talk about it so you can keep being incredible.